Hello, my name is Nick Daniel. I am the IB Diploma Coordinator at Branksome Asia, and in this presentation I'm going to be talking to you about two aspects of the IB Diploma program. First, I'm going to be giving you a program overview of all the information that you need about the program, and secondly, I'll be sharing with you information about how we teach critical thinking in an inquiry-based classroom. So there are 5 aspects that I'm going to talk about in terms of the program today. Firstly, I'll talk about the requirements of the IB Diploma program. Then I'll talk about the subject offerings that we offer here at Branksome Asia. I'll talk about the IB Diploma Core, which is an aspect of the program that's unique to the IB Diploma. I'll talk about assessment in the IB Diploma, and then finally I'll share with you some of the key research findings from research bodies around the world that show that the IB Diploma is in some senses a more advanced, superior program in terms of international education. So first of all, it's important to know that the IB Diploma is part of a 3-program structure, beginning with the IB Primary Years program, which begins in grade K, grades K through 5. Secondly, the IB Middle Years program, which is for grades 6 through 10. And then finally, the IB Diploma program, which is for grades 11 and 12. So for some basic information about the program, this is a program for grades 11 and 12, which is the top end of high school. It's a 2-year program, usually for 16 to 19-year-olds. It's a very well-renowned pre-university qualification that is recognized in many of the top universities around the world, including Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, and Oxford, and so on. So one of the most important points about the IB Diploma program is how rigorous it is academically. And the key question here is, what distinguishes an IB Diploma program from a regular international school program? And there are several points to consider here. Firstly, it's a very, very demanding curriculum. So there's a lot of rigor, there's a lot of content, and the degree to which students have to study academically is very, very high. Secondly, it's a standardized, internationally recognized program. And so what this means is that the standards of the program in terms of assessment, in terms of exams, are standardized across the world with a team of examiners from the IB who examine and moderate the work of the students so that the grade that you get at a school in Korea is exactly the same as a grade that you might get in a school elsewhere in the world. One of the other unique aspects of the program is that it uses both internal and external assessments. So what this means is that at the end of the program, students are given a set of exams to assess their knowledge and of their content and their skills within different subjects. But at the same time, and this is what's partly unique to the IB, is that a lot of internal assessments are taken by students, which means they're doing work independently, such as research projects, film projects, studio work, and this is then sent off to be moderated externally by examiners in the IB. It's also a very detailed, in-depth curriculum, and I'll show you a little bit about how that works. It's important to recognize that it's also widely known by universities as a flagship academic program around the world. It also has 3 core components, which I'll talk about. TOK, which stands for Theory of Knowledge, CAS, which is Creativity, Activity and Service, and then the EE, which is the Extended Essay. So a few words about the requirements of the IB Diploma program. First of all, students must take 6 subjects across the IB Diploma as a whole. 3 of these should be at higher level. So what that means is that students are taking subjects of about 240 hours per subject for the higher level subjects. And then for the standard level subjects, they should take then at least 150 hours per subject. So what that tells you is that the higher level subjects, you spend more time, there's more content, there's a higher skills level across those subjects. And then for standard level, it's still very, very rigorous, but at the same time, there's less content. In addition to that, we also have Theory of Knowledge, which I'll talk about in a moment, the Extended Essay, CAS, which as I said stands for Creativity, Activity and Service. And another very important point to mention is that students can either take 2 languages from Group 1, so that means they're taking 2 first languages, which many of our students here at Branksome Asia do, which means that they're effectively bilingual, or they can take 1 language from Group 1 and 1 language from Group 2, so that's a first language and then a second language. The current program offerings that we have at Branksome Hall Asia, they're divided into 6 groups. So the first group, which is languages, we currently offer English language and literature, Korean language and literature, and then Chinese literature. And that's studying literature and studying language to the highest level as if it was your first language. Group 2 is for second languages, and we currently offer English B. In fact, the IB diploma offers a wide range of potential subjects, and if you look at IB schools around the world, there'll be things like Spanish, French, German, Mandarin, Cantonese, and all kinds of other languages. Group 3, which is essentially humanities, or we call it individuals and societies. And so here at Branksome Hall Asia, we offer business management, economics, geography, history, and environmental systems and societies. And then in group 4, which is the hard sciences, the natural sciences, we have biology, chemistry, and physics. But also in that group, we include environmental systems and societies again. We also include design, technology, and we include computer science. We then have group 5, which is the maths programs, the maths offerings. And here we have 2 types of mathematics. One is called maths analysis, and the other is called maths applications. And both of those subjects can be taken either at higher level or at standard level. And then in group 6, we have the arts. So we offer here at BHA, we offer visual arts, music, theatre, and film. So to talk a little bit about the IB Diploma Core, which is the aspect of the program which is very, very unique to the IB and which you won't find in many other programs around the world, and specifically not in this format. And so the first part of that is something we call Theory of Knowledge, which is essentially a course about creative and critical thinking. So with Theory of Knowledge, students are learning to ask questions about knowledge. They're becoming better inquirers, they're learning to be good critical thinkers, they're thinking very carefully about the types of evidence that they use across the different subjects, and also they're spending a lot of time comparing and contrasting the degree of certainty, the degree of truth that we can achieve within the different areas of knowledge. The second part of the core is called the extended essay, and this is very, very special because this is where students go away and work independently on a research project that can take a long time. It can take several months of the end of their first year and the beginning of their second year. They essentially choose a topic they're passionate about, they work towards finding a research question, and then they go away and do the research independently. So it's very similar to the kind of research paper that students might have to do in the first year at university. So in that sense, it's one of the things in the IB diploma that makes the diploma very, very rigorous and very advanced. And then the third aspect of the core is CAS, what we call Creativity, Activity, Service. And this is really the extracurricular program of the IB diploma. And this is where students are challenged to take risks, they're challenged to expand their abilities and their skills, to see new horizons in terms of advancing themselves and growing their own personalities and identities. And as you can see from the name, creativity refers to anything creative. Activity could be sports, but it could also be other types of activity. And then community service, which is a very, very big part of the IB diploma. And I'll just say a couple of words about that. One of the great things about a school like BHA is that we spend a lot of time helping students take information and content and skills from the curriculum and then using those that content and those skills to actually apply those skills to finding service opportunities and to serving the community in different ways. A few words about student selections, because what this shows you is that the IB diploma is actually very flexible. Students can pick from a wide range of subjects, but they can also mix and match. So for example, if you're a student who is going to attend college to study, for example, biochemistry, there is the opportunity within the structure of the program to take more than one science. Or on the other hand, if a student really wants to be an artist or to study something related to the arts at university or at college, they can do 2 arts as well. And I'll explain how that works. So on the screen here, you can see that student A is taking 1 course from each of the 6 subject groups. So this student is taking Korean A, higher level, English B, business, biology, maths, and music. So they're taking 1 subject from each of the different groups. And so that's a very broad-ranging diploma for that student, and what that means is that this student has the opportunity to study almost any type of subject at university. Student B on the screen is here taking 2 Group 3 courses. So what that means is that they've got both history and also business. So what that means is this student is more geared towards the humanities. They probably know that at college they want to study something related to history or something related to business. Student C is taking 2 arts courses. So this student really wants to study the arts at university, so they're able to study Korean A, English A, and you'll notice that that's a bilingual student. They will have a bilingual diploma because they're studying 2 languages A. ESS, Environmental Systems and Societies, Maths, Visual Arts, and then music as well. Student D there is actually studying 3 sciences, so that's a student who really wants to study something like biochemistry or physics at college, at university. And then student E is doing 2 sciences, but also keeping up an arts course, so they've got more of a balance in their program. So as you can see from that, it's very flexible. Students can pick from a wide range of subjects, and they can mix and match to make sure that they are following their interests and their passions, but at the same time, they're preparing themselves well for college. So overall, what you can see from this is that the IB diploma program is very balanced. It's holistic because it deals with the whole child. It's flexible in the sense that there's a lot of choice for students, and it's also very, very academically rigorous. So I'll just say a few words about the assessment practices in the IB diploma. First of all, it's important to mention that the IB diploma assessment is criterion referenced, and what this means is that students will have a set of criteria for every subject, and they will be able to measure themselves against the criteria. And this is a very important aspect of independent learning, because students then learn to assess themselves independently, to figure out, work out where they need to be in order to achieve the next level, and in that sense they become much more independent in their learning. The second point to mention is that students are graded out of a system of 1 to 7, with 7 being the highest grade and 1 being the lowest grade, and that's the same for every single course. Students can also achieve 3 possible additional points for the TOK essay and the extended essay, and the maximum number of points overall for the IB diploma is 45. Now, just to say a few words about those 3 extra points for the TOK essay, that might seem a few number of points, but actually there's also a regulation in the IB which tells us that if students do not achieve well on the TOK essay or the extended essay, they can actually fail the IB diploma. And what this tells us is that the IB considers these 2 aspects of the program to be very, very important indeed. And then just a point about the number of points, the total number of points, just to give you a sense of university requirements in relation to the IB diploma program. Some of the top schools, the top colleges around the world, such as Cambridge, such as Oxford, Stanford, Yale, and Harvard, will require students to achieve anywhere between 41 and 45 points on the IB diploma. So that tells you that that's a very, very high standard. But also the fact that the lowest number of points to achieve an IB diploma is 24. So that's a very wide range. So what that means is that students who are applying for top universities can still achieve that through the IB diploma, and students who are less academically capable can also take the IB diploma, but again will probably not attend the top colleges that they might want to attend. And then finally, the overall assessment of the program. Exams are either in May or November, depending on which hemisphere of the world we're in. Here we take the final exams in May, and that's 70% of the overall assessment. And then the internal assessment, as I've said, covers about 30% on average of the overall assessment of subjects across the program. I'll talk a little bit about some research findings, and this is very important because what this tells you is that the IB diploma is very well regarded around the world, and there's a lot of research that's been done by universities around the world that shows how beneficial the IB is to students. So for example, the research you see on this screen tells you that in many ways students are better prepared for university. They are more likely to achieve higher level degrees in college, and they're also more likely to go on to postgraduate education compared to non-IB students. This research from 2015 tells us that DP graduates have much higher subject grades in all subject areas compared to their non-IB counterparts. In terms of academic persistence, DP graduates, according to research by the University of Oregon, were significantly more likely to persist and complete college than students who had not taken the IB. And then in terms of critical thinking skills, DP students have a much higher likelihood of using a wider range of critical thinking skills in their thinking, in their professional lives. Other research from 2015 also shows that graduates from the DP have higher subject grades in all areas, and also that they're better prepared in English language skills and also academic skills such as writing and managing work independently. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that the DP has this extended essay, they have the theory of knowledge program, both of which help students become better critical thinkers, but also better independent learners. Mathematics higher level in the DP is also seen to be the most cognitively demanding course compared, for example, to the AP system in the US, but also to the A-level system in the UK. And then finally, this is a very interesting research about the 21st century skills that we teach in the IB diploma program. So this measured the difference between IB students and non-IB students in some very interesting areas, including critical thinking, creativity, communication, cultural sensitivity, persistence, global knowledge, adaptability, leadership, and also time management. And what this research found is that in every single case, IB students perform better than non-IB students in all these very essential 21st century skills. Okay, so just to finish off and to summarize, I just want to summarize the key teaching points that we need to consider. So number one, sound critical thinking is vital because our knowledge claims do lead to action and they do have an impact on the world, and students really need to understand that. Secondly, critical thinking starts with asking great knowledge questions, and so students need to know how to formulate those questions and then to explore the questions in depth. Thirdly, students must think carefully about the definitions of keywords. It's vital that they understand how to interpret, how to define these terms, and that they're using them accurately, because misuse can lead to misinformation and untruth. And then finally, it's really important that thinking is visible in the classroom. The more you can get students to really visualize their thinking and to map it out visually, then the more likely they are to explore their own thinking, to be able to track their thinking over time, and also to be able to identify the strengths and the areas for improvement in their thinking processes. Thank you very much.